We made it to the last expression that we're going to be talking about in this series. It's disgust. And before we go ahead and play that intro, what I just wanted to say is generally with disgust, you're going to have these characters kind of leading into it or coming out from it. So you're going to notice a lot of similarities. That being said, let's talk disgust. If you guys have been with me through this whole series, you know what's about to happen. We're going to break down what is disgust, so that way we know what the term means, what the expression is, and how we can visualize it. So the definition I found is disgust is an emotional response of rejection or revulsion to something potentially contagious or something considered offensive, distasteful, or unpleasant. Now this is why I'm saying that it usually is caused from or leads to anger or sadness, because there's a response. Disgust is a response, and then it has a secondary expression. So again, this is something that we can use to add more realism, more dynamic expression to our characters, our drawings. And just like everything we've talked about, yep, there is a range. It goes from moderate to intense. The thing about disgust, though, is disgust kind of exists over multiple different planes. It covers a lot of topics, right? You can be disgusted by something that is just gross. You can be disgusted by something that is vile, offensive. Animal cruelty is something that you might be angry about or sad about. So the facial expressions are going to change regarding what the person is disgusted by. And also the level. So again, we want to be thinking range. We want to be thinking what type of disgust are we looking at and what's going to be our secondary expression. These are all things that are going to lead into a much more believable disgust expression. And I have to do it. We're going to break out these emojis. We're going to break out flower, and we are going to do our first practice using these disgust-like emojis and applying them to a character of our very own. All right, guys, grab your favorite flower sack or whatever character you're using, and let's copy some of these expressions. It's really a great way to practice your own creativity. See what you can come up with using the references, but don't copy the references exactly. You want to get some creative juices flowing. And honestly, it's a pretty good warm-up, in my opinion, too. You got some drawings coming up. Got to work on those expressions. We're going to try to make some expressive and caricaturized kind of things. So hey, use this as a way to warm yourself into it. Now, disgust is such a great and expressive expression. So one of the best things we can do, just like everything else we looked at, is go back to cartoons and animation. In animation, you have people that have explored every type of disgust that we're going to be looking at or talking about. So just bringing up those old memory files in the back of your brain and thinking about what these characters look like is really going to help emphasize and animate whatever we're going to be drawing. So let's take a look visually now. What really expresses this emotion? What happens to our face when we're disgusted by something? So with disgust, this is a little different than some of the other expressions, because most of what's happening and most of what we read as humans is happening at the bottom half of the face with the nose and the mouth. Pretty obvious here. You guys should be able to see that we get a pretty significant frown face, this is like almost a cartoony, unhappy face. A lot of what's happening is we're disgusted and the bottom part of our lips are being pulled down. Now, whatever happens down here is reacted to up here. So you're going to get a little bit of a flared of the nostrils kind of a thing going on. And depending on what kind of an angle you're looking at, you may see that more or less, but you can kind of see like the nose wrinkling a little bit up here, and the nose is kind of tightening in that reaction. You also get some of those cheek or mouth lines coming off of the nose there, kind of showing that the face is really tensing just around this whole area. Now, with some of those features being flexed and pulled up, you kind of have a little bit of the chin being pulled up, and this doesn't really change our proportions too much. But in this example, the eyebrows with that frown look are becoming our halfway point. Lastly, the eyes do play a part, but I don't want to talk about it too much because it's always very different. If you're angry, if you're just, grossed out, if you're sad, all of these parts of disgust are going to play something different. This seems like she's kind of irritated, so, they're kind of playing up the idea of somewhat mad eyebrows, and then she has more of a squinted look because you can only barely see her eyes. I find that the squinted look and kind of like an off-kilter eyebrow where one is going like this and the other is doing something else, just to show some irregularity. helps with my expression of disgust. But again, you're going to find what works for you. All right, on to our first drawing. So just as a full disclosure, this is the only one I did 2 drawings of, and the reason I did that is, well, you guys will see when we get there. Anyways, what do we always start with? We start with our proportions. So again, just realize too, everyone has different proportions. When people change their face, sometimes their proportions change. So if you have a format that you like to stick to, kind of something that I've been thinking about lately is proportions are there as a groundwork, but they're always meant to be built on and built up, if that makes sense. So never feel like you're stuck to your proportions either. Things can always get bigger, smaller, as you feel fit. Anyway, so we got our proportions kind of laid out here. And then from here, I'm just building it up. So I'm thinking of the shape of his face. What is the angle we're looking at? He has a little bit of a tilt. The tilt really adds to that kind of disgusted look, in my opinion. And again, what are like the really telling moments here that you guys are seeing? To me, everything is right there on the right side of the lip, where it's kind of like peeking through a little bit. Like it's just a little open, and it's like that's just like a perfect, like unconscious kind of grossed out mouth feeling. It's like, I don't even know if I could do that if I tried, but if I saw something gross or something grossed me out, like maybe I could naturally kind of have a reaction like that. So one of my favorite things about the grossed out look is the kind of not symmetrical, if you guys saw my last video, I'm all about this, mouth features that we're getting. So we get this like off-kiltered mouth shape where the mouth is the lips are kind of moving a little bit more to one side, or one side is being more picked up than the other. Again, it's kind of like an unconscious thing that's happening, but that gives you this really great kind of dynamic shape to have like one lip bigger, the other side smaller, and play with that like funkiness. It's always kind of fun. It gives your character so much more character, for a lack of a better word there, to learn how to play with those things. From here, we just kind of build it up. Everything's there already. I got like what I was satisfied with the disgusted look. So now I'm just going to kind of throw in some of them details. Hair, he's got a hat on top. How does that look? Remember, all these things can add and build on to your expression that you're drawing. So don't take these things for granted. This isn't a portrait drawing or a head drawing workshop necessarily, but always practice. Never, why not take the opportunity to practice when it's in front of you? So I'm going to finish this up, and we'll get to our one more try with the exaggerated look. All right, on to my explanation about why this is the only time I did 2 drawings for the next 2 pictures coming up. And it's because, well, I ended up drawing this with the idea of exaggeration in my mind, and it kind of came out extremely similar. It's definitely more exaggerated, but I just felt like maybe like I was already drawing with the exaggeration level that I wanted to today. So other than getting really insanely messy and indecisive with my guidelines, for the most part, it kind of came out as the same drawing. But hey, practice is practice, so let's go through it again. So I have my loose proportions here, filling in the shape, pretty similar shape. I'm just kind of making some things a little more apparent, like the brow line into the cheek and stuff like that. I'm kind of pushing some of those shapes. And then where I really wanted to focus was that lip shape. I really, again, like that not symmetrical shape. So I really wanted to focus in and like just make that the prominent point of this picture. And I did. So gave myself a nice, interesting mouth shape. Place that lip in looking nice and funky. Again, you want to think of like, you just got grossed out. How do you react? You don't think about your reaction. Your body kind of just does it. So what's going on there? All right, from here, you push some of the proportions a little bit, right? We got, kind of like a, I don't know, like a scalloped kind of nose. It's like, it's going in a little bit. It's a little flexed, but it's also kind of like tense with the face. And then you can play up some of those mouth lines as well. All right, so last piece of our puzzle here, coming in with the eyebrow shape. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video too, one thing I like to do is to really just kind of off-center the eyebrows. One is kind of down, the other's kind of up. It's like a interesting kind of like, what the heck is that kind of a look? So that's how I like to play it. Again, you guys might have found something that you find to be really iconic to your look of Disgust, so use whatever's comfortable with you. You know, again, adding certain things like maybe like under eye lines and other elements to the picture are always great ways to kind of build up and add some character and make the moment a little more intense. So you can see here, as an exaggeration, I'm just kind of pushing features down a little further. Eyebrows a little higher, eyebrows a little lower. Are they covering the eyes? These are things you can kind of mess with and push as you kind of figure out your drawing style here. All right, so for the most part, this is all figured out. I'm just gonna go in and have some fun with the details. So I get a little crazier with the hair, you know, a little bit with the hat placement maybe. But again, I just kind of wanted a more solid and figured out figure. I already drew it once, so, you know, I kind of felt comfortable with where I was coming from on this one. So see where you guys get. If you guys did something extremely cartoony and completely different, let me know down below. I'm really interested to hear about what kind of process you guys took on this. So I'll let you guys finish this up, and then I'll meet you in the next drawing. All right, on to our next one. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this is a great exaggerated face already. Like, this person is disgusted. I like it. I don't need to draw two different references. We already broke this one down too, so we know what's going on here. So let's just jump straight in. So we're getting started with some of our basic proportions. You know, whatever you guys feel is what you guys feel. So go ahead and add that in. So I was going to add in some of those features of like a little bit of like a sagging kind of cheek shape that you might see on like elderly people, but I wanted to push it here because she's frowning down like with that disgusting scowl so hard that her cheek is actually creating that kind of like old lady-ish shape there. You can be careful about how much you push it, because the more you push it, the more she might look older. But to me, I was just having fun with it. You know, I didn't care. Like, if she came out looking like an old lady, she comes out looking like an old lady. It's fine with me. I'm not really here to draw spot on portraits. I'm here to just kind of mess around with the look of Disgust and where can I take it, you know? So, all right, we're figuring out our proportions. And then remember, with exaggeration, we are moving around our proportions as we need to. It's always good to know where your proportions are, though. Just, you know, naturally in an ideal situation to then push it, because it'll seem a lot more pushed if you know exactly where your eyebrow, for instance, should go, and then you put it a lot higher or a lot lower. People will know, people who don't even know art will read that and be like, oh, okay, I see what the heck, what's happening here. We got some interesting stuff going on. All right, now for the mouth. So I'm definitely making the mouth a little bit bigger, and I'm really emphasizing that overarching frown down. I mean, why not? We got an exaggerated portrait going on here. You might as well go for it. So I'm really putting a disgusting kind of like scowl on there. I love the little openings in the lip there. Again, it's just kind of like a natural reaction into something disgusting, and so I feel like it's really storytelling. It's part of the moment. You know, as I say, you know, this isn't about drawing an attractive person or whatever you're trying to draw. This is about capturing that expression, and I think a lot of times when we express something, we're not exactly looking our most attractive anyways. So I think that relates to telling the story with the expression. So I wanted to push the squinting look a little bit there. So I really kind of like turned the bottom lid upside down a little bit. You know, I pushed it up instead of having it stay round. Just kind of shorten her eye opening a little bit more. It kind of makes her seem a little more angry, disgusted, whatever's going on. It's a moment, and we're feeling that a little bit more by closing those eyes a little more. All right, so you guys can see we got the moment down. I figured it out. And now I'm just kind of jumping in. So just kind of, like, this isn't a proportions thing. I keep saying that, but let's talk a little bit about proportions since I'm drawing it. I knew that her hair had a little bit of height to it, okay? We know that her skull is not as high as her hair is, but her hair has some height to it, so it should always hover above your skull line. So again, this is where I'm talking about proportions, where, like, don't get stuck to your proportions and lay on some flat hair onto the skull shape that you drew. Make sure it has some volume. Hair has volume. It sticks up. Sometimes people have their hair up in the back or whatever's going on back there, whether she like put it in a bun or something. It can create lift, etc., right? So try to fill it out. Remember, stick to your simple shapes. It always comes back to simple shapes whenever you're drawing something that you feel is complex or you don't quite understand. So, with the hair, I was just thinking like, okay, well, I want to capture the feeling of the hair, but I also want to stick pretty simple with the hair as well. So we're going to add in our final touches here, and then I have a very expressive one for our last one. So I'll meet you guys over there. Looking up proportions, always different, guys. So I just want to show you here the halfway point. It's not the eyes, it's not the eyebrows, it's that part of the nose, right where the nose bends down and turns back towards the face. That's our actual and true halfway point. So just wanted to mention that. Now, who are we drawing? We're drawing Maya Rudolph, great comedian. I don't know if you guys have ever seen where this skit is from on Saturday Night Live. The Californians, if you guys haven't, go check that out. All of them are on YouTube. That's has to be the funniest skit that Saturday Night Live has ever done, in my opinion. Especially being someone from California, I love when people make fun of California things. Anyways, let's talk about the drawing. So she is completely 100% expressive and characteristic herself. So I'm just gonna try to enhance that a little more. To be truthful, copying some of this, she has a nice disgusting scowl on her face, but it's also kind of a little bit of like a fearful moment too. So we're kind of capturing two emotions here. In the actual scene, I think she was supposed to be like scared of whatever was going on, or like shocked, or she was like a surprise, but I just thought it was such like a good expressive disgust look that I just wanted to go for it. So here we are. I'm not holding back with any of my features here. So we got super flared nostrils. I'm gonna play up the mouth lines. We're gonna go in and kind of expressively design the eyebrows, and I want the eyes nice and huge to kind of like, like this is like grossed out. And I know we're drawing squinting, but remember, the eyes can always change. What kind of a moment are you talking about? You can be disgusted and scared at the same time. Now, where I really wanted to have fun was this mouth here. So we go into the mouth and we get to kind of have fun with like that lip shape going on there, especially from like the underside. So we see a lot of like the top lip kind of really folding over. You guys can have fun with that. Again, this mouth shape kind of made it for me, and you guys will see it in like a second here. It's kind of showing already like a scared look. It's just what happened, and I just kind of rolled with it. I think that it still has like an essence of disgusting, or not disgusting, or disgust to it. Sorry, Maya, if you're watching, I'm not calling you disgusting, I promise. But again, so I did want to emphasize a few things after looking at it shaded in. I decided, well, okay, I want to play up like the fact that we're seeing inside her mouth a little more. So I just kind of shaved down her lips a little bit, and it makes the mouth itself look a little bit bigger. And then now I can draw in some of the features in there a little bit better too. All right, so now we get to piece together her face here a little bit and make some of our corrections as well. So just throwing in some indication of shadows. You kind of have a little bit of that scrunching on the chin that we've been seeing, where like some people like as their chin tenses up, You get a little bit of that like flexion, tension kind of look to the chin there. All right, now we're really playing up this eye look that she has going on, right? Like she's wide eye, like what the heck is that over there? Kind of a look. So another great one for the eye reference there. All right, so we'll knock that in. And then from here, we just have some rest of the face to create. So I just kind of blocked in some of her eyebrows, and we are going to finish this off here in a second. All right, so got some good details in there. Can make some exaggerations under eyes, whatever we need going on. That dot I created up there is just kind of like my reference point of where I thought the hair should start. I used the dot to kind of check, like, does that look like enough forehead space? And it does, because remember, we have an upward angle. So things are changing. The proportions are changed in different angles. So we have less forehead that we're seeing. It's disappearing from us in space, guys. So I see less forehead. Things to remember. And add to your picture. Again, this angle, remember, the angle too adds to your picture. Don't always be thinking so flat and dimensionally. Like, watch any of your favorite movies, and any moment where you feel like the characters are fully expressive and the moment is really gripping, it's fearful, it's disgusting, it's surprising, whatever it is, right? All these expressions we've talked about. Pause it. Look at the moment. What's the camera angle? What is the facial features? Where are we looking at our characters? Where is their placement? I guarantee you it's not going to be the camera smashed straight up to their face. There's always going to be some sort of dynamic thing going on. So learn from that. Copy that. Use that in your own work. The reason that those things make you feel those ways, it's planned. It's on purpose. They created those things, and we want to be able to steal those and use them in our own work. Well, guys, we finished expressions, and I have no idea where to go next with another series, so I might mess around with a few ideas I didn't get to in a couple other videos and series. But again, if you guys ever have any ideas, please let me know down below. I'm always happy to make a video of any suggestions you guys have. I hope you found this video helpful, and I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.